The Dalai Lama has for the first time told the world what happens after his tenure. The head monk of Tibetan Buddhism has assured that the 600-year-old institution will continue. The announcement comes just days before the exiled Tibetan spiritual leader's 19th birthday this Sunday. Who will succeed the 14th Dalai Lama? How will China respond to the appointment? Will this be a fresh flashpoint in India-China ties? And what lies ahead for Tibetans under the next Dalai Lama? I'm Ananya Datta. Let's get some answers. "66 years ago, thousands of monks took to the streets of the capital city of Lhasa. There were murmurs that the Chinese wanted to assassinate their leader, so they surrounded the main palace, guarding the 14th Dalai Lama sitting inside. The next few days saw brutal crackdown, which ultimately forced Tibetans to flee in exile. Among them was the 23-year-old Dalai Lama, who dressed as a soldier, carried a rifle, and covered his face. He and his entourage of thousands crossed the Indian border through Arunachal Pradesh and penned a letter to then Prime Minister Jawaharlal Nehru, asking for refuge. New Delhi provided shelter to every single Tibetan refugee. And since then, Dalai Lama has established a government in exile with Dharamshala as their new capital. Back at home, bloody clashes eroded every semblance of Tibetan people and their culture. The People's Liberation Army destroyed monasteries and slaughtered people. It ultimately led to the region losing its autonomy and the Chinese taking control of it fully.
We decide not seeking independence. Try to remain while we remain within the People's Republic of China. We should have sort of certain right for preservation of our own culture.
Decades later, Dalai Lama has confirmed that his institution will continue even after his passing. He says this is the wish of the Tibetan spiritual leaders, global Buddhist communities, and the people still living in Tibet. He ended his statement with a stern message for China without naming the country.
If it is about Lama's reincarnation, when all the followers have unanimously said that the reincarnation should continue, then it is obvious that it will come. Since my 24th of September 2011 statement, which states that responsibility for doing so will rest exclusively with members of the Gaden Phodrang Trust, the office of His Holiness the Dalai Lama. They should consult the various heads of the Tibetan Buddhist traditions and the reliable oath-bound Dharma protectors who are linked inseparably to the lineage of the Dalai Lamas. They should accordingly carry out the procedures of search and recognition in accordance with past tradition. I hereby reiterate that the Gaden Phodrang Trust has sole authority to recognize the future reincarnation. No one else has any such authority to interfere in this matter.
The latest statement comes months after the Dalai Lama claimed in his book that the next reincarnation will be in the free world. Since the purpose of a reincarnation is to carry on the work of the predecessor, the new Dalai Lama will be born in the free world, so that the traditional mission of the Dalai Lama, that is to be the voice for universal compassion, the spiritual leader of Tibetan Buddhism, will continue.
It's very important. I feel his Institute of Dalai Lama is continuous. Of course, it's very, very important. So not even for the Tibetan people, it's important for this Mother Earth. So it's very important. It's continuous. He always promised the people of the Tibetans, especially for the Tibetans and inside the Tibet and outside the Tibet, he always promised, I come. If I come in a free country, not in a dictatorship on other countries, he comes in a free country and he continues his 14th Dalai Lama's job left. He can continue what this is.
Beijing has insisted it will choose his own successor, calling the leader a separatist.
The 14th Dalai is not purely a religious figure, but a political pariah conducting anti-China separatist activities under the guise of religion. What Dalai says or does cannot change the prosperity of the Tibetan autonomous region. We hope that relevant parties should not provide a platform for such anti-China separatists.
Before we come to who could become the successor, let's understand how it happens. In Tibetan Buddhism, it is believed that the Dalai Lama can reincarnate and choose the body in his next life. And there are some clauses to it too. The next Dalai Lama should be born around the same time that the current Dalai Lama passes away. There are 3 ways to find the next Dalai Lama. First, a monk could dream about him. Second, an oracle lake in the highlands of Tibet could point towards it. And third, one could follow the smoke from the pyre of the current Dalai Lama. But before, the search was restricted to the region of Tibet. Now it's worldwide. The 14th Dalai Lama was chosen through the second way, where a vision from the lake pointed towards his house. While this will be followed by senior monks in Dharamshala, China has been categorical in denying the process. Beijing has said that the next incarnation will be born inside China and approved by the atheist Chinese government. So could there be a point where we could see 2 Dalai Lamas?
Truth. We have truth. Power of truth. Chinese communist power of gun. Long run, power of truth is much stronger than power of gun.
The Dalai Lama seems confident that he will live till 110. So in the next 20 odd years, there could come a point where you will see front page headlines on the 15th Dalai Lama. And this will be a tricky ground for India. Going by the current leader's words, there is a possibility that this successor will be from India. The entire situation is already a sore point in New Delhi's relationship with Beijing. After his passing, a sizable Tibetan community in exile will continue on Indian soil, and among it could be the 15th Dalai Lama. On the diplomatic front, Beijing could demand the closure of institutions related to the Tibetans across India. But there is also a harsher possibility where Beijing could try to split the community by infiltrating in India's Himalayan region, which will have security implications for India. Hence, the policy question of how India might handle such a situation, should it arise, is of crucial importance domestically, as well as for the eastern border. Dalai Lama literally means ocean of wisdom. India might need some wisdom right now, because even though New Delhi is not central to the issue, it definitely can't avoid the topic for long. Even 6 decades after he left Tibet, Dalai Lama still holds significant influence over the hearts and minds of the Tibetans. So if the next leader is chosen from India, China is bound to protest, and the West is likely to welcome it. In the middle will be India, forced to take a side, and its famous balancing act will be put to test.